Gotta be honest, guys, I ate some humble pie recently. I had to take some tough criticism that I didn't like to hear, but I think it's good for me, and I've been changing my life because of it in a positive direction. I don't know if you guys remember, like 6 months ago, I posted a video where I talked about some of my friends were telling me that it seems like your videos have changed. Your videos on the yungjamez channel, it seems like you're changed. It seems like you're getting cocky now. You're very arrogant. You're talking down to the viewer as opposed to just being lighthearted and goofing around and talking about how, I'm struggling and we're in this together, guys, or whatever. And then anyways, in this video, I was saying how, guys, you guys need to stop taking it so seriously. You guys got to understand sometimes people are better than you. And although I still do believe a lot of that, I did notice something that was very serious recently when I've been looking through my videos and figuring out how I can improve. And I realized I made the exact mistake that I told myself from day one of the YouTube content creation that I would not do. And I said this many times when I was first starting out in the channel. I said, no matter how big the channel gets, no matter how popular these videos get, I'm going to stick to being 100% myself, and I'm not going to try to be somebody that I'm not, because that's the only reason I even like doing this stuff. And whatever, for the last few months, I've been noticing I'm not really into doing this YouTube thing. I don't know what it is, but I'm just not feeling it anymore. I feel like I'm not being myself, and so I would go back and I would rewatch my old videos. What are the videos that did well for me? What are the videos I even had fun creating, even if they didn't do well for me? And I started to realize that I got in this funk, like whatever it was, 6 months ago, a year ago, where I was trying to take the YouTube thing more seriously, even though I said this whole time that I wouldn't do it. Even though this whole time I said, whatever happens, I'm gonna be 100% myself. I'm never gonna take it too seriously. Now, of course, once the money started coming in, I started saying, I need to treat this as a job. I need to be like other big content creators. And I started changing up slowly. And I was like, who's really successful in this space, or somebody that I used to watch who was really, really successful, who I can be like, and I can model my videos after them, which of course wouldn't be me, but this is just kind of the thought that crept into my head slowly. And I remember I love watching Elliot Hulse videos. He's like the GOAT. I learned so much from him back in the day. So I went on this 2-3 month kick where I was only watching Elliot Hulse videos, and I'm like, I'm going to be more like Elliot Hulse when I talk in my videos. And I'm sure you guys might have noticed that sometimes I'm trying to be like, yeah, so you need it, whatever. I'm like taking myself a little bit too seriously, and I'm trying to say things that are honestly just beyond my depth, to be honest. So I got in that habit, and recently I've been looking back at my videos and it's like, man, what went wrong? Why did I get so sick of doing this content creation thing? And I realized there was a lot of truth in my friends telling me, dude, you're trying to take it too seriously. You're trying to be somebody you're not. And at the time, of course, I was upset, and I was like, no, man, shut up. You don't know me, because they were giving me some uncomfortable constructive criticism. And anyways, that's not even the topic of the video necessarily. What the point of the video is I was realizing this. You're almost never going to change someone's mind directly in the moment when you give someone constructive criticism, or you point out a flaw in someone's thinking, or you're in a debate or a disagreement, an argument with somebody. It takes an extraordinarily humble person with no ego at all to take that advice directly in that moment, implement it into their life, and change their behaviors. And I have not been that guy in my life. Of course, I strive to be humble, and I strive to change and learn all the time. But of course, this is a situation in my life where I was not that guy, and I took the constructive criticism from my friends as an attack on me, as opposed to just genuine, factual, constructive criticism. So if you're getting into an argument with somebody, if you're going into a disagreement with somebody, and you both leave the disagreement thinking, I hate this person, I'm angry, they didn't hear my side, and you feel like there was no point of speaking up because no benefit was achieved through this, we gotta remember, the change almost never happens immediately on that moment. If someone does change, you gave someone actually some good advice and they are going to change, it's going to happen weeks or months down the road. Because when you're in that moment, when you're in an argument or a disagreement with somebody and you have one side and they have the other, most of the time with most people, what they're going to see it as me versus you, not both of us trying to figure out the truth. And the more you see it as me versus you, the less you want to admit that you are wrong, even if you know factually you are wrong. And no, almost nobody, if you're in a very heated debate, especially if it's about politics or something, and especially if it's online, that just doubles the chances that people are not going to hear you out. They're not going to change in that moment or admit that you are right. But here is what will happen is that will stick in their mind if it had some truth to it and it really hurt their, if maybe it hurts their feelings because it had some truth to it, or they knew that they could actually use this advice. This will stick in their mind and they will start seeing this pop up. They'll start seeing this pattern present itself day after day after day in their life. And then what happens 2 months down the road, their behavior has gradually started to shift. Also, they're removed from the argument or the debate where they no longer feel like, okay, I have to admit that I'm wrong and they were right and they won. Now it's kind of like I had this time to think about it on my own and I started seeing the patterns in my own life. And now I can accept that they did give me some good advice because I'm removed from the situation. And I kind of came to this conclusion on my own, right? So like if you want to tell your friend, okay, hey buddy, you should probably change your diet up a little bit. You should stop eating McDonald's for every single day. And of course, most people aren't going to take very kindly to this advice. They're going to be like, oh, who are you? Look at what you eat. How dare you comment on my diet? I don't need to eat more vegetables. What are you talking about? And 99.9% of people are going to leave this argument thinking, okay, well, that was a waste of my time. I shouldn't have even said anything because they didn't change. But here's the thing. Nobody is going to change in that moment. Almost never will they change in that moment. But what your friend, if they exhibit narcissistic personality traits, or if they have some type of personality disorder, maybe they won't ever change. But most people, if your friend is an honest person and a healthy person, what they're going to do is next time they go to get fast food, they might hear your voice in the back of their mind and remember that argument that they had that obviously struck a chord because they knew that you were saying some truths, and they might order a little bit less from the fast food place. And then next week they go back and they hear that argument come back into their head again. They might order a little bit less. And they might stop going to get fast food altogether. And then 2 months down the road, now, naturally, like I said, when you're removed from the argument, you're no longer feeling like it's me versus you, it's easier to say, okay, well, I started noticing this in my own life, and it's not directly tied to their advice. I kind of came to this conclusion on my own. I just realized on my own that it's best for me to stop eating so much fast food. It wasn't because you told me. And, honestly, a lot of people are going to say that. They're not ever going to give you credit. But that's not what it's about anyways. It's about your friend being a better person and actually finding the truth in the argument or whatever that you had. So I say all of this to say that I do this. I make this mistake all the time in my life. I get into an argument with somebody and I say, you know what? I shouldn't have ever said anything. I shouldn't have said anything because they didn't admit that I was right in that moment. But honestly, nobody's going to ever admit that you were right 100% in that moment. So I think it's incredibly crucial that you do speak up and that you do tell your friends if you see a flaw in their thinking, something that they could improve on in their life, an unhealthy habit that they continue to indulge in every single day. And 99% of the time, it's not going to go over well in that moment, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to have an impact in the future. And even if they don't give you credit in the future, which obviously, of course, it would be nice if they did give you credit, they're not really going to do that. That's not what it's about. It's about your friend actually being a better person. So whatever this is, if you're giving someone advice on their diet, like I said, and they get offended about it, if someone's giving me advice on my YouTube videos and I get offended about it and I say, you don't know what you're talking about. If you're in a political debate with somebody, now politics are even more, people are really, really firm in their beliefs about that stuff. But pretty much never people are going to accept that you are right and they're wrong in the moment because they feel like it's you versus them. But months down the road, weeks down the road, they might change their behavior. So just because you leave and you're upset and you feel like you shouldn't have said anything, that doesn't mean they're not actually going to change or they're not actually thinking about what you said. So I do believe that it is important to be honest with people and to speak up. Just something to think about. yungjamez@gmail.com, guys. Thank you.